Anyway, another theory, concept, that the pyramids not only have different sizes, ziggurats like I have up there, or the equilateral triangle like I have over there, but sometimes they are translucent and made of crystals, and they're blue. And you're going to find more and more talk now of blue pyramids, because those are the major ones that have to come into focus when things like this start to happen. Those are the balancers. Those are your pure crystals that are now, or was some kind of intelligence made, that defy to make that one that we talk so much about look like a little baby's hopscotch. Some of these things go 1,000 feet into the air. Equilateral triangles with the base being there for 1,000 feet long. On the bottom of the Pacific Ocean, the Atlantic Ocean. On the bottoms of oceans, inside of mountains that we now call mountain ranges, like the Himalayas. Pyramid right inside of that. Shasta, pyramid right inside of that. They almost come and tell you this. We look at all at Northrop and Northern Telecom and AT&T and stuff, and they say, oh, these are geniuses, these are technical engineering marvels. Foolishness, you bought that. They bounce transoceanic signals right now off of a blue pyramid in the middle of the Atlantic, and they didn't build it. They're just using it to bounce off of their satellite to get satellite transmission. The pyramid is a crystal pyramid, and it is blue. Who was it again? About 5 weeks ago, this guy on the news at 10 o'clock talked about the tektite plates, the blue pyramid. How many remember? What is his name? Oh, wow. Dan Rather. Now, Dan Rather came up and said there was a blue pyramid found up in Alaska. And it looked like a blue pyramid. He went a whole 15 minutes about that again. Then later on they said, oh, it wasn't a blue pyramid, it was a tektite plate, tectonic plate that had, both of the plates had come up, and it looked kind of blue because of the ozone and stuff that was there around it, and it looked like a pyramid structure. Well, tektite plates, as I understand, don't run a foot or a block. They're supposed to be slabs that our continents rest on, if you go by the continental drift theory and all, and sometimes they rise, and if they rise, you're in deep trouble, because the whole western and eastern shelf of the United States is built on tectonic plates. Now, if a fracture of one of those plates comes up, I'd still be worried, because it might mean the whole plate might be shifting. But why were they blue and translucent? And why right up there in Alaska? Well, many of the prophecies talk about Alaska. Many of the prophecies talk about the time when the pyramids will again arise. You're going to hear talk about pyramids or pyramid structures, translucent blue structures. The blue structures generate energy, a type of energy that will correspond with the new energies coming into this planet, which are magnetic. And as they come up and our Earth shifts, electricity shall fail. Now, word to wise, what to buy, what to do. If electricity fails and you start using magnetic energy, what devices do you have that runs on magnetism in your house now? Only one I know of is you. And as your frequencies changes, all these sicknesses and things and plagues will come upon you, because you've got to change frequency from an electrical and get rid of the electrical things in your body and change to a magnetic one. That's what the pyramids prophecies were about. They showed people how to do this when this happened before, as they had little structures in there where people could lay in there and begin to metamorphosize their body's energy fields, changing them to a high frequency of magnetism rather than electric. And it is through that, since they also understand clothing and gene adaptation, that if you could preserve a body, and they usually had these canopic jars with the eviscerated, supposedly people were put into, people put the entrails and so in there. If cloning can now be done, and they had all this technology, maybe by just keeping a cell in good shape, it was magnetic, when these people could come alive again and wanted to return, they just simply wait for that time, put that little cell into some kind of a fluid or to a magnetic field, and the person would be cloned and begin to grow again. So maybe they weren't so dumb when they said the mummies could return. But not as we understand it. You see, a lot of the science that is now has been before. There's an old maxim and a saying that I find very true. There is nothing new under a sun. So much so that we remember those parables that were carried on by the ancients. There is nothing new under a sun. This repetition of places to be learned from classrooms of planets. Nothing new under a sun. Advanced people don't live on sun systems. Sun systems are to guide those who need illumination. And they even formed whole things called the Illuminati that they didn't tell you about because they wanted to get the victory in the consciousness. They didn't want you to go. Why? Because you are the pyramids. The pyramids are exact duplication of your cranial structure if you have a pineal gland. You can do the same things the pyramid can do. That's why now you're killing kids and trying to produce, what do they call it, melanin? Trying to produce an elongated pineal gland. The noni is back again with this. The things are back again that can help you to do exactly what the pyramids have done. The pyramids are simply an example of the upper area of your body. And all the metaphors and stuff from, I don't want to get too deep because many of you are no devout religionists, but I will simply say most of the things are only in allegorical form, hypothetical allegorical form, forms to give you an old truth, to spoon feed it to a baby who is just beginning to awaken. Because if you give a baby too much, they overfeed, they'll vomit, they'll get sick. And they felt that some could better learn truth while others couldn't handle the truth. It always amazes me how a person is too dumb and childlike to accept truth, but you can work them to death, make them take all kind of social pressures, and expect them to hold up under. Something doesn't equate. Once you start lying, what is it? Oh, what a woeful web we weave when first we practice to deceive. The lie just goes on and on till even the liar forgets it was a lie, and they begin to believe their own lies and they call it the truth. That's really dangerous. That's what you call psychoticism. I state to you that is exactly what is happening. The pyramids will act as balancers and justification to stop some of these quakes and things that will happen, and instead of the volcanoes erupting, they can begin to vent through these pyramids. So we have choices here. They either vent the way they used to when intelligence came to save a planet, or they vent the way the planet would normally do when it got tired of all the pus and poisons that were corroding her. That's why you will find more pyramids now being discovered and so on like that. It's interesting that the Dogons, the Saluris, and the Zulus all state that these pyramid builders came from Sirius, not from Pleiades and Orion. All the books you find now talks about Pleiadians and Orinians. If they're talking about Pleiadians and Orinians, look elsewhere.
That's right.
If you never know what to read and do, just find out what they're doing and do the opposite, because you're different. And what they've always said, even in the heyday of whoever built them, they had two so-called air holes, air shafts. They were not air shafts in the pyramid. They said one was here and the other was here. No, down. They call them air shafts. At certain times of year, the light from Sirius would shine through, and certain times of year, the light from Orion would shine through. Well, Sirius, of course, is in Canis Major and Minor, the dog stars. The dogs. Orion, is in the Pleiades. Betelgeuse is the chief's son there. And they've always been pictured as Sahil, the foolish, the searcher, the hunter, always looking for souls and people to distort and confuse. And if you read closely some of the Pleiadian books, they tell you that they're deceivers. How many of you got into the metaphysical and occult lore here? Let me just see how many are where I am. One, two, oh, a lot of you. Well, that's what they said. You're reading Barbara Messiniak's books, you're reading Nido and all the rest of their books, they're telling you that they're deceivers. We'll get into that a little bit later too. But these ancients understood that the light from Sirius and the light from Orion were the chief energies that were coming to this earth, and they were opposites, and they had to be balanced. And so this was a balancer. It meant that electricity or electrical vibrations came from one and magnetic vibrations came from the other. And here, since we had human, animal man, the beast that walks on two legs, they had to have both these energies, and to which time they could begin to decide what energies they would utilize. Which means when they begin to use their own crystal to interpret the energies, make their own decisions, awaken to their own vibrations, and create for self. Everything that they've taught you now you're going to find is wrong. Or at worst, not even a half-truth, a 15% truth, which makes it very hard to weed out. Why am I saying this? It taught me also in schools, they probably taught you, that there's 3 trimesters for the development of fetuses and birth. It takes 9 months, 3 times 3. And after the first third of them, after that first third, you look like a tadpole inside of amniotic fluid and you develop. Did they not say this? They're finding whole fetuses now that never go through a tadpole gestation. Don't look like tadpoles at all. But you believed everybody was born the same. If a person was there in the womb a little bit too long, they'd missed their time of birth, so they were going extra long. If they were born before, they were premature. I'm saying again, magnetism is a higher frequency, and anything using magnetic takes longer to develop because it has to develop the consistency of a higher frequency. Anything living on electricity takes less time to develop because it's using a lower vibration.